To defy the odds, you have to risk everything and take chances. At Old Nation Brewing Company, we did just that. From an unknown startup brewery to standing alongside national craft brands in just under a decade, we remain one of the last of the large, independently owned breweries in Michigan. Our beer is respectfully brewed using only the highest quality ingredients, and we don't cut corners. With the times changing for everyone, one thing that stays the same is Old Nation's respect for great beer and the people who love it. We're growing in cans produced and fans made. When you taste our beer, you'll know why.
We'll get back into the tournament, get a tournament update at 2:45. We'll do a little blitz. But I wanted to play this audio for you. I'm not going to build it up into be something it's not. It's interesting. Depending on your perspective, it could be infuriating. But Avila is talking about the fateful winter that they decided to sign Javier Baez. And I think the part that's going to anger you is he was warned. But take a listen to this, and you'll hear a reference in here that there was another player. That other player was Carlos Correa. So take a listen, though, and I want you to hear the alarm bells that were rung, and they still went through with it.
Yeah.
Take a listen. Oof. Let me just give you my quick takeaways, and then Rico will take you to 6. A lot of people could have predicted he fell off a cliff. If you want to say not historical worst season in history, all right, point for Al. But he was warned, and he still did it. I think the other thing that kind of got to me, not angry, but it just went, oh, okay. We weren't going to go there. I couldn't go there. That's the famous $300 million line in the sand. Remember, they offered the low ball. Mm-hmm. Then he goes with Minnesota on a short-term deal. Again, he tried to approach it with the owner, and I believe in Al's words, quote, Chris went, well, I don't know. Those are the things I pull out of it more than anything else.
Yeah. What about this Javy guy? Can we do it with him?
Yeah, you did, and you're still paying for it with a 6-year deal that is going to go down in history. It's going to make Juan Gonzalez look like a value. But
look, you know what? Here's real quick. I'm going to give you full credit for this, Mike, because I remember when the Correa thing was going down, and I was like, you know what? What if they went after Baez? And you're like, Javier Baez? You're like, no, that would be the biggest mistake if this team did that. Yeah, I didn't think that his numbers were going to go that way. I thought, you know what? Maybe he could bounce back, get out of New York, come to Detroit, resurgence of his career. No.
Whoops, wrong one.
Okay.
David moved these damn buttons, and now the muscle memory's gone. I got to relearn everything. I got to relearn to walk. David, what's your here's the one thing. This has always been Avila. I don't think it'll ever change. He's too honest. Even, that's the truth. Mm-hmm. Don't say it.
Right.
All you're going to do is upset people more.
No, see, you're exactly right about that. Talking about what they knew and what they believed. They were telling him that he was going to fall off. His numbers were not looking good. We didn't play it, but there's other audio within this interview on DetroitNews.com about how he still never really wanted to trade Verlander. He never wanted to trade JD and all of this stuff. And it's just, if they're telling you that Javier Baez is falling off, then just stay away. I get it. Yeah. He says Ryan Kryler was young and he may not have been ready. And
yeah, well, he stinks, he's still not ready.
But here's the thing. I would have rather you gone that way than if they're telling you he's falling off, say no.
Like, whatever misgivings I have about Scott Harris, it is not even a conversation from a brain power perspective. I mean, Scott Harris operates on a different plane than Avila. Yeah. And I may not like everything they do, including Alex Cobb. The point is, Scott Harris has done the things that Avila wasn't really able to do. Now, look, Scott Harris also inherited some players that hadn't blossomed yet, that Al brought here. Like, we do have to acknowledge that. I don't want to be totally unfair. Like, your best hitter is an Avila guy. Mm-hmm. It's Kerry Carpenter. It's Riley Green. These are things that Scott Harris had nothing to do with. Jackson Jobe, that's an Avila thing. Now, again, do I think Al made a mistake taking Jobe versus a shortstop in that draft? Sure, but whatever. It's dead and gone now. And we're still sitting here with Javier Baez. But overall, all I can tell you that audio does is make me feel better about that you have Scott Harris.
See, I wonder, did they do a pivot and say, well, you know what, let's learn from the Javy mistake and let's not go for plan B. When Bregman thing fell through, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out with who we have on the roster, and if we have to, we'll just, we'll platoon third base.
Well, I think, okay, if you end up running your team the way they're running it, this is just an opinion. This is not breaking news. I'm offering this to you. I think the way this goes down is simple. Hey, I'm going to run my baseball team on a budget. And if you don't like it, you're not going to get the job. So why don't you tell me how you're going to run my baseball team with this budget? And here's Scott Harris, and he opens up his Bloomberg terminal in the interview, and he goes, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to play Hildebrand at first. This Moneyball thing that they're doing, I mean, that's why you do it. Real teams don't do this stuff. Real teams with real budget. So do the Tigers eventually evolve into something where he's going to have his Avila moment? Yeah, I think the Bregman thing would have. I wasn't comfortable going where they went.
Right.
My issue is they didn't make a trade this offseason, and they didn't do anything else. It was Bregman or bust. I was never comfortable under those terms. Now, yes, I would have taken Alex Bregman, but when you started to get into 6- and 7-year offers, no. And I'm glad the Red Sox did what they did because, honestly, as stupid as it sounds to pay the $40 million a year AAV, he makes more money than Aaron Judge. At least it's 3 years with a 1-year opt-out.
Right. And it also tells me, Mike, he really didn't want to come here.
He didn't. That audio
all the money
day,
was there, and it was just like, wait. Like he was slowly walking towards the airport like, oh, I guess we're heading to Detroit. And wait, was that the phone ringing? It's Boston. Yes.
Right. As long as it's not a call from Korea, I'm in.
You are exactly right. And I cannot fault the Tigers at all.
No, and I haven't.
Because listening to that audio, you're like, we thought all along we were going to Detroit. And I'm thinking, well, then just go to Detroit. He was waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting.
But this
Please
is the thing.
Call me.
David, the problem in all of it is, on one hand, Scott Harris is incredibly intelligent. But on the other, the player was a bad fit for this place. Us wanting him because he was the only option or the best option at third is one thing. That's true. But is it a far better fit for him to not go to the Cubs, not go to the Tigers, and end up where he ended up? Yes. Like if I'm Scott Boras, I want to get him to Fenway because of the ballpark, the park factor, the way he hits. He comes here, I think he was going to fade quick. But for our purposes in the next 2 years, I think we would have been okay. So, yeah, the Avila thing, I didn't get bent out of shape, but I wanted to play it for the people and just, hey, you do what you want with it. But, yeah, he was warned. His own people are like, maybe not. Full steam ahead. Okay.
Well, we didn't think it's going to be that bad.
Well,
it was.
It is that bad.
It was worst case scenario.
You sign Javy and then realize.
Well played.
Oh, that's good. I love that, man.
He's got a 510 OPS. -8 defensive runs saved. All right, I'm done. That's gratuitous. David, some big texts coming in, and we'll get a tournament update.
Yeah, you're right, Mike. A lot of these guys on this roster are from Al. It was the other things that he couldn't do, meaning trades and free agency, that was the downfall of the Tigers.
Yeah, and look, what Scott Harris has been able to do is, in warp speed, start to get the farm system together. And no, I don't mean some stupid ranking. The ranking doesn't mean a lot. It's about the quality of players they're bringing in, the trades they're making at the minor league level, minor scouting, right? Like this Lorenzo kid they've brought in. Like they're making smart moves and getting players that people are going, wow, the Tigers didn't trade for a doorknob? You know, for years, the Tigers would make these trades for prospects and they'd be like, well, what'd you get? And it'd be like a mop and a bucket. So now Harris is doing that. But yeah, your best prospect is still Jackson Jobe. And the debate will rage on, at least in my stupid mind. You got Clark and McGonigal, or you got Wyatt Langford. Scott Harris better be right, because if Langford goes out and builds on the damn near 800 OPS he had last year in a rookie season for the World Series champs, and he was hurt, look out. He had 2 balls yesterday over 110 miles an hour. Okay. Because here's the other problem. These other players may end up being awesome. They're not here. They're not here. They weren't here last year.
Right.
They're not here this year. And you don't know if they'll be here next year. You can wish it, hope for it, But how do you know it's not the next Jay Shung who needs more time? I'm done. That's it. David, anything else?
Yeah, I'll just read one more here regarding Michigan. Someone says, Dusty May is maddening. I don't see how he makes this happen. I don't know what it's going on with the coaching. Do his players not do what he's asking them? It's weird.
The turnover problem is something that he brought with him from Florida and Atlanta.
He just needs guards. That's all. It'll get better.
I'm just saying, for 3 years, they turned the ball over there.
I know.
At some point, it's not the guards. It's you because you put up with this.
Well, he better take the investment they gave him in the NIL in his new deal and go get some guards.
Well, listen, it's his first year. The fact he went 8-24 last year and you got a coach who helped you win the Big Ten Conference Championship tournament, and you won I don't care if you got lucky. You won a game in the tourney. David, can the guy have 10 minutes to build the roster, please?
Okay, and then I'll need the next 10 minutes in the offseason.
All right.
Well, see, no, I was the same about building the roster, but then I went and looked at what he did in Florida. I'm like, they turned the ball over there too.